So what is going on, all of my fellow navigators? Welcome back to the navigation station. So good to have all of you here on this Friday evening, joining once again for this live Q&A. Guys, so good to have all of you here. It's good to be back. We've got a lot to discuss here tonight. So first things first, let me just go ahead and jump into this chat and welcome those that are just joining us. So we got Blake and we got the Poke Zone in that live chat. What is going on, guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to have all of you here. And each week, or at least recently, I've been starting off with a quote, and it's always going to be a Pokemon quote. Always, I don't know how many philosophical quotes there are out there for Pokemon, but I at least try to uncover them, and I try to make them pertain to our topic for that week. And this week it reads, even if we don't understand each other, that's not a reason to reject each other. There are two sides to any argument. Is there one point of view that has all the answers? Give it some thought. And this is from Alder, which he was a figure in the black and white era in the anime, in the game. So I thought that was pretty appropriate for tonight. There's been a lot going on recently, a lot of people giving their perspectives, their opinions, their insight. And, I think it's all good, no matter what, whether you agree, whether you disagree. I think all of this conversation and nuance is a healthy thing for the hobby, because in the end, when you reach out and you expand your horizons and you take on different perspectives, ultimately you can have a more well-rounded opinion of your own. So just keep that in mind for tonight's discussion, guys. And we got a few more coming in here. We've got CJ Do Work, we got Kyle, Eddie, Frank, Ozzy, Tangy03 Games, TCG Tactical, we got Jonathan B, Church B, oh boy, JB, and we got a lot of people starting to roll in here now. So guys, like I said, and as you probably noticed by the thumbnail, really the three things on everyone's mind is Logan Paul, Pokemon card prices, and that reprint. So we'll just jump into these one at a time, and I'll kind of give you guys my opinion on each of these. So starting off first, Logan Paul. As if you guys don't know, recently on his podcast Impulsive, he made the comment that he is no longer investing or collecting in Pokemon cards. He said that he's done, he's out, he's moving on to different things. So my take on this, my recommendation to all of you is that you go ahead and dump all of your Pokemon cards and put all of your investments into woodworking tools. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, guys. No, he made the comment that, he's moving on to different things. He wants to try different hobbies. Woodworking apparently was one of them that he was, that enticed him. And that's where he's moving on. But here's the thing, guys, and this is my opinion on the matter, is that, with Logan Paul, he's a big name personality. He's got all the money in the world. He can collect, he can invest, he can pretty much do whatever he wants. And it seemed, at least in my opinion, that he had really garnered the products that he was looking for. He got his PSA 10 first edition base set Venusaur, Blastoise, and Charizard. Obviously he bought that first edition base set booster box, opened it live. And I think he has basically run the course for what he was looking to do in the hobby, collected what he really wanted to collect, and now he's moving on. It's really nothing against the guy himself, but I think, much in the same manner as a lot of people out there, just kind of fickle by nature when it comes to this hobby. There's very few that actually stick around for the long term. So I think his exit, in my opinion, was not much of a surprise. It really did not surprise me. And in my opinion, yes, he does have a big following, and yes, his reach is pretty far and wide. But the people that entered the hobby, because of him, probably, they're probably not sticking around now either. But at the same time, you do have to give some credit where it is due, because for some people's experience, it just takes one person to introduce them back into a passion of theirs. For me, back in 2016, it was, guys like Primetime Pokemon, TCA Gaming, Leonhard, where I was like, wow, this is still really a thing. And Pokemon cards, they're still out there, and you can actually get your hands on some of this vintage product. And, if at the end of the day, if any of those figures left the hobby, I would still be here. And I'm sure a lot of us would still be here. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that have joined the hobby through Logan Paul. Many of them will probably leave, but there will still be quite a few who stay. So in my opinion, guys, concerning the whole Logan Paul thing, I really haven't put much stake in it. I never put much stake in it from the beginning. I really didn't think it was going to be a long-term endeavor for him. And it's kind of strange, in my opinion, that many people are kind of giving him this credence that he was in some manner like an expert, or that somehow his exit signals some kind of crash or drop in the market. And I just don't follow suit with that. I think that much in the same manner that you see with other big name celebrities, he saw an opportunity. I think he saw that he could capitalize on it and that he could make some content out of it. And so he got in while the getting is good. Not to say that he doesn't enjoy the hobby, but now he is moving on to other things. So all in all, that is my take on the whole Logan Paul thing. Do I think in the end it's going to have significant ramifications for the market? No, I don't. Especially in the long term, I really don't think this is going to be a whole lot of news you hear in a month or so. I mean, realistically, it wasn't a whole lot of news just a couple months ago. The words Logan Paul and Pokemon really didn't coincide together, and they really weren't in the same sentence. So hopefully, what other ventures he has, hopefully he has good luck in that. I mean, if you guys, like I said, if you want to start investing in woodworking tools, that might be a good endeavor to go down. If you think that Pokemon, if Pokemon doesn't have a future, well, maybe woodworking does. So maybe you can go down that route. And then moving on to the second topic here in regards to prices of Pokemon cards. Now, I've seen a lot of people kind of using this as a blanket statement of saying, Pokemon cards are slowly going down in price. And realistically, that is not necessarily the case. Now, you have to take a couple things into consideration here, guys. Now, here in the States, we just got through an election, and technically it's not even over yet. Now, we are getting, as you've seen, the pandemic is starting to ramp back up. There's a lot of people who are still unemployed. And on top of that, we haven't gotten any kind of stimulus yet. So I think you're starting, what I've talked about before, how you have to look at other extraneous factors outside of just the Pokemon market that can affect it. And so I think what you've got now is just people that really don't have that discretionary income that are spending money on, and realistically, it's on graded cards. That's where we're really seeing an impact right now, is really in the graded cards market. And you guys know I've talked about it before, and many people laughed at me from the very beginning when I was using analogies to compare the Pokemon card market to the financial markets. And from the beginning, I said graded cards are very analogous to stocks. And as we know, stocks, they do fluctuate. They go up and they go down. There is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to graded cards. And if there's ever uncertainty in the market, usually with graded cards, that's where we see it. Just like in the financial markets, when there's uncertainty there, we see it in stocks. And so, you're seeing some of the prices on these graded cards start to take a little bit of a dip. Maybe some of that is due to Logan Paul's exit and some people leaving the hobby. Other people, I think, maybe are just panicking right now. And so you're seeing out on the open market, people trying to undercut each other to try to sell their products out. And this also brings me to the point where it highlights a really good topic that I discuss time and time again about how you need to always be in a good financial position. There's so many people, I think, that have entered this hobby that have done so without kind of the financial backing in order to invest in these products. And now that they're starting to see a dip, they're just selling as quickly as they can because they can't weather that, the ride. They can't weather that trough in order to come back out on top when the market starts to pick back up. So that's why you're seeing some of the prices on some of these cards start to take a little bit of a dip. Now, on top of that, graded cards have been taking a little bit of hit, as I said. But if you look out there, sealed products have, at the very least, stayed the same and are actually still going up, especially when it comes to vintage products. Here a while back I think it was the beginning of October, I had a video where I was discussing the, basically save it or grade it, utilize or using the first edition Team Rocket booster boxes and base set 2 booster boxes. And, back then, let's just go ahead and take a look here. I'll go ahead and bring up eBay real quick. Let's switch cameras. And let's just go ahead and look those up. Just for you guys' frame of reference, back in October, we'll look up Team Rocket first. Back then, a first edition Team Rocket booster box was going for around $9,000. Let's go ahead and take a look and see where Team Rocket is now. So going for around $9,000 early October, guys. These are the most recent listings here. And let's go ahead and just take a look at sold listings as well. See if we can find something recent. And that is if my computer will cooperate. Okay, let's see here. So here we go. We got one that was sold back on November 7th, $20,100. Now, remember, guys, this is, I believe that video actually dropped exactly 1 month ago, and those booster boxes were selling for on average around $9,000. $20,100, $20,100, $16,000 at the end of October. So, case in point, when we have an impact in one area of the market, it doesn't necessarily coincide with another area, another product in that market. Let's go ahead and take a look at base set 2. Let's see what base set 2 is doing. Back, and just to give you a frame of reference, back in early October, base set 2 booster boxes were going for around $11,000. So here we go, 13,000 sold at the end of October. Not a whole lot of listings here. Here's one, October 24th, 17,900. So I mean, honestly, guys, you can go through 12,600. This was mid-October though, so not a whole lot of listings here. But I just wanted to give you an example of something that it doesn't always coincide in one area and the other when it comes to these type of products. So what you're seeing right now is it affecting graded cards? And as I said, graded cards has always been in flux, at least for the last few years. Graded cards are the areas where you do see market fluctuations more so than others. When you look at sealed products though, these sealed products, especially vintage products, are continuing to go up. And that's why I always stress, guys, one of the biggest things that I stress is diversification. Diversification. I mean, at the core, you should have a good financial basis at the core. Good financial foundation so that you can actually invest smartly. But after that, it's diversification. It's basically saying, okay, maybe I'm going to put a stake in graded cards, and I'm going to put a stake in vintage sealed products, or maybe it's modern sealed products. And it's also having that short-term and that long-term strategy so that you can weather these times where the market is taking a little bit of a dip in one area. And by having that strong financial basis, you don't feel that pressure to have to sell. And that's essentially what is going on right now in the graded card market, is that you're seeing people panic and they don't have a strong financial basis, and so they can't weather this, they can't ride it out, and so they're undercutting each other to try to get these products out of their hands. Now, another thing that I would recommend doing during this period is essentially buy low, guys. You see this time and time again in the financial markets, and I see this all the time now, but especially back when I was an advisor, is that people have a tendency to panic. They have a tendency to sell when the market drops, but that is actually an excellent time to pick up these products at a discount. There's products out there, PSA 9 base set Charizard, like what you guys were seeing on the thumbnail. I actually think that was first edition, but even base set unlimited PSA 9 Charizard, it's getting down into those low thousands, guys, to that like low 1,000 range. This card was going for over 4,000 to 6,000, not just a few months ago. Now, this is going to come back up, guys. It's going to come back up once things start to level out with the economy and, stimulus packages start to come out. People start to get back to work. The pandemic starts to wind down, vaccine, all this stuff, all this extraneous stuff that a lot of people don't think about. It's all going to come back. Now, is it going to come back to the height, with graded cards that we saw over the course of this year? I don't know. Maybe not. But it's definitely going to come back up. This hobby has grown so much, and there's so much notoriety around it. I just cannot see it, not going back up again. So now would be a great time to go ahead and buy in while these prices are lower, and then capitalize on the resurgence. So that's basically what I've got to say about the prices that you're seeing out there. When it comes to sealed products, you're really not seeing that. Even we'll talk about XY Evolutions. You guys know I love Evolutions. Evolutions is growing too. Evolutions was sitting right at around that like 420 to 440, 450 price range for the last, few weeks. Now it's starting to climb over 450, and in fact, in many cases, is climbing up to that $500 range. And you guys know, I forecasted that by the end of the year, we would probably see Evolutions climb up on average over that $500 range. And I still think that that's going to be the case with that. Still a lot of good cards in that set. And I think it'll be at that price point by the end of the year. So it's not just necessarily vintage products, but you also have to look at, even some of the more modern products, at least, and we'll get to the next point here in a second, but some that are a little bit older, but are still relatively modern. I still think that some of those are a good investment as well. So again, that transitions us into topic number 3, and that is, if you guys didn't see it yet, I will go ahead and bring it up here. We are getting another reprint, and that is for Cosmic Eclipse. So let me just go ahead and bring it up here. I believe it was, here we go. All right, let me bring you guys in. So right here on PokeBeach, new Cosmic Eclipse print run next year in line with Japan. They can confirm a new print run of Cosmic Eclipse is coming in the first quarter of 2021. Some distributors began taking their first pre-orders this morning. So far, it only appears to be booster boxes. So again, guys, honestly, this is not a whole lot of a surprise to me. We've talked about this before, that with very modern, in fact, ultra modern products, there always is going to run the risk that those sets get reprinted because they're so new. In my opinion, Pokemon's main focus is competitive players. And if there's a set that is still in rotation, especially, they don't want to exclude one segment, perhaps one of the larger segments of the hobby in competitive players. And they want to make these sets that are so new accessible to as many people as they can. So in my opinion, I am not surprised that Cosmic Eclipse is getting a reprint. And I had warned about a lot of these sets before, the potential reprints. Now there's some that have been able to weather that, like Hidden Fates. It really doesn't seem how many times times Hidden Fates gets reprinted, specifically the tins, they just continue to sell well, and they continue to really hold a decent value for those products, and especially the cards on the inside. The Charizard from Hidden Fates still holding a really good value. So these are things that you have to take into consideration, guys, and that's why you have to take all of this into consideration, all these different facets. And although it seems sometimes like, the market is just hectic and you don't know what to do, just try to look at things as a whole. So, when you're looking at modern and ultra modern sets, with these, if you're going to try to get into these for like a short-term flip or to hold them for short-term games, it's probably not a good idea at this point, because I honestly foresee Pokemon reprinting many of these modern and ultra modern sets. Now, many people have asked me, well, what about Evolutions? Do you think Evolutions? And I've gone into that before. Evolutions was well out of rotation for competitive play. It's going on 4 years old now since its release. I just don't see any reason for them to reprint Evolutions. And, talking to you guys before, discussing with distributors, discussing with card shop owners, these are very allocated now, guys. The Evolutions booster box is very, very allocated, especially for LGS's, local game shops. Typically, they're having to purchase, cases of other products in order to even get maybe a booster box or two of Evolution. So they're just becoming more and more allocated, and honestly, I just foresee them becoming more so as we move on down the line. But when you're looking at Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, guys, I would be leery of trying to invest in those products just for short-term games. Just for short-term games. These are products that you want to hold for the long term. There's a few products I talked about like recently with Vivid Voltage and the build and battle boxes. I could see those, you maybe holding those 1 to 3 years because of the promos inside. There's some one-off products in there, but for the most part, ultra modern products, these are ones that you want to hold for the long term, because you do run the risk of reprints. So that is basically everything in a nutshell that I wanted to basically get out there tonight, get my opinion. So now I'm going to go ahead and jump into the live chat, see what everybody is saying, and see what questions I can answer. Got to get hydrated first. All right, let's see here. And for everyone that is joining in just now, welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let me try going through some of these questions here. In fact, I'm just going to start from the most recent. Kyle Roberts says, like Kenny Rogers says, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. That is the truth, my man. I love that song too. And it's true, and ironically enough, we're talking about a trading card game. But yeah, you need to have an approach. You need to have a blueprint going into this. And I think for so many people, when they start out into this hobby, they don't have a blueprint for themselves. They don't know where they want to be in, whether they're a collector or an investor. Where do you want to be in 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? What is your ultimate goal? And I think it's important to get that, in place before you even start. So yeah, Kenny Rogers says it best. All right, let's see here. Let's see what questions we got rolling in. All right, Sammy Boy says, how you PokéNav after a Steve Aoki box break? What will go up after Evolutions? So, it's hard to say, after Evolutions, there's sleeper sets out there, guys. I think I talked about it last time. I know I talked about it on the podcast that I did with Polish Rob, which if you guys haven't watched that yet, I definitely would go check that out. That was a great conversation that I had with Rob. But there's some sleeper sets in there, guys, and it's not necessarily, sets that maybe came after Evolutions. There's, looking in there, one of the series that I've been looking at pretty heavily is Black and White. Looking at like the Plasma Freeze, Plasma Blast, Plasma Storm, looking at Dark Explorers, black and white base set. I think that's kind of a slept on series right now. You know, a lot of those booster boxes under 2,000, a lot of great cards in that black and white series. It's not modern, it's not vintage, it kind of falls in that, to me, kind of like Goldilocks zone. But you know, as far as, you know, a base set-esque type of set, you know, I mean, really Evolutions is the last point to which people can turn to if they're not going to be investing in, you know, the first edition, the base set unlimited, or shadowless, or Japanese for that matter, which I actually think Japanese is still at a pretty decent price point, considering you're getting the exact same cards, and it actually came out, it's even older than first edition base set. So I still think that, you know, Japanese cards are just really slept on. James Chris VA says, PokéNav, have you sent any cards to CGC? I have not sent any cards to CGC. I actually have a pretty big submission that I'm going to be submitting to PSA, and probably going to be dropping that video this week where you guys can see some of the cards that I'm sending in. Kind of a combination of different things, some from my own collection, some cards that I've picked up. So I'm going to be doing about a 50 card submission to PSA, but I'm going through graded gem. You know, at this point with CGC, I'm still waiting on that market, because right now, when you look out on the open market and you compare side by side Beckett, PSA, and CGC, you know, for a very similar or identical condition, CGC is still at a much lower price point than PSA and Beckett. So I don't think that it's necessarily caught up yet. And so I'm kind of waiting to see more cards come out on the market, and waiting to see, you know, where CGC kind of settles in comparison to the big boys, obviously PSA and Beckett. So nothing sent in yet, but yeah, you guys can probably be looking for a video this week for that submission. I sent a message. Funny enough, I sent a message to our boy James, aka Z from Z&G Emporium. I was like, hey man, I said, I'm happy to ship these cards to you, but you live literally right across town from me. Can I just drop them off? So we'll see if he gets back to me. You know, I'm kind of mincemeat compared to the big boys out there, but we'll see if he reaches back out to me, because that would be great, honestly, if I could just, you know, whenever I need a PSA submission, just take it over to James, or even just drop it off to his post office, rather than having to ship him in and go through that whole rigmarole. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. Should be looking forward to that sometime this week. Tyler Morris, my friend, thanks for all your videos and content. Well, hey man, thank you so much for your support. Truly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, and we got my man PokeFuel in the house. Looks like he's looking for a submission through Graded Gem too. Seems a lot faster. From everything that I've read, everything that I've seen, definitely looks that way. And I'll definitely keep you guys updated. This is my first submission through Graded Gem. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated with the process and the turnaround time. But I've got a fun video planned for that submission. I think it's my first submission that I've done on the channel too. So I thought you guys might be interested in that. So a little bit of a sneak peek for things to come this upcoming week. Ian DC says, I agree with black and white. Remember that line of cards have the first full arts. Yep, talked about this before, especially full art N. I believe it's on the come up too. Yeah, you know, and I've talked about it before, guys. Like, I really like sets that set the precedence for certain cards that extend into future sets. That's the first time that we saw full arts. You know, and it really set the precedence for things to come after that. You know, to see those cards, you know, to see the characters take up the entire card, that was really, really cool. So I think that's definitely an area to look at, guys. You know, something to consider. I'm okay with giving away my secrets out there because I want to help you guys out. So Alex H has a good question. What do you think will happen to graded card prices when people get back tens or hundreds of thousands of graded cards in the next few months? It's a really good point. And, if you look at the pop reports, like one of the cards I was talking about earlier, the PSA 9 base set Unlimited Charizard, the pop reports on that is well over 4,000. So it's not necessarily that's an extremely rare card. And, there's with a lot of these submissions coming back, obviously PSA's been backed up. So, over the next few months, we're probably going to be getting new pop reports out on a lot of these cards. And you can guarantee that population is going to go up for the Charizards. So, even though, it's a sought after card and everybody loves it, you have to take into consideration supply and demand, which, is one of the reasons, like, I've never really invested in Charizard myself. One, I mean, he's top 5 Pokemon for me, but at the same time, like, I knew that was a card that everybody is chasing. So for me, I'm trying to look in other areas. I'm looking for the undervalued cards. I'm looking for those cards that have the bigger profit margins, the cards that a lot of people are sleeping on. Everybody knows about Charizard. So it's a really good point, and I think that, that's something that you could definitely see over the next 3 to 6 months as cards start to come back. You may see those Charizards in lower grades. PSA 10 is still up. It's still a low pop, and the value of that card is still going to be really good. But those lower tier cards, those lower condition cards, lower grades, I should say. You may see those cards really start to take more of a hit in the upcoming months. But at the same time, even with the population of 4,000, this is the other thing. Even if it does have a higher population, 4,000 cards on the open market may seem like a lot, or at least that have been graded. But if there's 100,000 people that want those cards, you've got a deficit. So you're still going to have way more demand than you're going to have supply. So that may still drive up the price. So it really all has to do with supply and demand, and how much of that supply is readily available. So really good question, man. I do appreciate that. Adelina's Adventures. Hey, thank you so much for that super chat. I really appreciate it. I wish I could say I was as good looking and as big a name as Rev, but it's Nav. But hey, man, I really appreciate that super chat. I know what you mean in that. And I truly appreciate you. I know you come back each and every week, especially for these live streams, and I truly appreciate having you here. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's find some other questions in here. So let's find some bangers. Addison Veneer says, do you think there will be a contraction in the Pokemon market? Is Pokemon cards a bubble? A lot of people have asked about this. I did a video on, if I thought that Pokemon is in a bubble. And truly at this point, I don't. I actually think we have a pretty healthy market out there. You're going to see dips, guys. I mean, that's just the nature of markets. Like, you're going to see dips. And it's much in the same manner like in the financial markets. Like, I would never recommend to somebody that, especially if they're investing for the long term, that they have their entire portfolio composed of stocks, or even worse, like really risky stocks. That's kind of, in a way, that's like graded cards. Like, if all you're dealing in is graded cards, you don't have the cash flow, you don't have the capital to weather dips in the market, you're putting yourself at risk. And I mean, that just makes sense. So, like what we're seeing right now, we're seeing a dip in that market because of panic. But that doesn't mean that you can't capitalize on that. Now, you look on the flip side, you look at sealed products. Sealed products still going up, guys. Still going up. And that's because that supply is always just going to get lower, especially a vintage product. Supply is always going to go down with vintage products. So, I think as a whole, the Pokemon card market is quite healthy right now. I think you'll start to see things rebound once things like stimulus checks come out, once people start getting back to work. vaccine, all of these different things, as I said, extraneous factors, you'll start to see the graded card market start to pick back up again, even if you're getting an influx of graded cards on the market. Pokemon is just growing by leaps and bounds. There's just more and more people entering the hobby, coming into the hobby. I just don't see that slowing down. So honestly, I think at some point we will see more of not necessarily a dip or anything like that. We'll see a plateau. You'll see where it just kind of comes in and card prices, maybe booster boxes even, start to plateau. And because when you start getting into a certain price range, like you're just excluding a vast majority of the population. So I think at some point it will plateau, and then it may go back up, it may dip back down. But I honestly don't think that it's in a bubble. My own personal opinion, I truly don't think that it's in a bubble. And we're getting better and better information out there. I'd like to think that I help to provide you guys with good information. And I've talked about this with other content creators, other investors and collectors. All of us right now are really setting the framework and the foundation for things to come in the future. So if we want the Pokemon card market to be healthy, then we all have to do our part and to contribute to that. And so I think that's becoming educated, that's investing wisely, that's, collecting within your means, all those different things. That really sets the foundation for a healthy hobby. But we all have to be a part of that. We all have to do our part to support that. So yeah, I think hopefully that puts you a little bit at ease, because I know everybody has been touting that we're in a bubble. But personally, in my opinion, I don't think so. All right, hold on, guys. I'm going to turn down this light a little bit. I'm getting blinded. Ooh, that's a little too dark. Okay, that's probably better. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see what else we got going on. See what other questions. Yeah, Semi Boy, making a good point there. Some people trying to compare the Pokemon card market to Bitcoin. And like he was saying, Bitcoin really didn't have a whole lot of intrinsic value, and you've got a competing. You've got the Federal Reserve, and you got people using, actual financial assets, while at the same time you've got Bitcoin out there. I just don't see the relation between something like that, some kind of crypto, and Pokemon. And as you guys can see, the people that deal in crypto and Pokemon, I'm just not going to say any names like Collectibles Guru, but doesn't always coincide. And I'll just leave it at that. All right, Bad Heaven 22, what is up, my friend? And as you can see there, they got that Pokeball logo next to their name. They are a next level navigator, one of the members on the channel. And just real quick here, guys, again, one of the ways you can help support the channel, if you want to see, better aesthetics, all the different things that really improve the channel, go ahead and sign up for a membership. It really, all of the profits that I gain from super chats, super stickers, memberships, that all goes right back into the channel to try to make content better for you guys. And Bad Heaven 22, one of our members on there. So thank you so much, my friend. First and foremost, it says, Nav, what is your take on the continuous reprint of Hidden Fates, and do you think that demand will just eat up all the supply? Have you seen the post by PokeJew where he is with Logan Paul? No, I have not, but I am familiar with PokeJew. I know that he puts out some pretty good content. Now, as far as the continuous reprint, do I think this is something that we're going to see, years and years down the road? Probably not. Probably not. I could see this being, keep in mind, guys, that we're just over a year from when Hidden Fates was released. It's not that long. It's not that long for them to continue to reprint this set. And, maybe when if we're 3 years down the road and we're still seeing reprints of Hidden Fates, then I might say, hey, at some point, the supply, I don't think the demand will be able to outweigh the supply, and I don't think the value will be there. But I honestly don't foresee them, continuing to reprint this set for years and years down the road. Again, we're only about a year out from the actual release of Hidden Fates, so I really don't see them reprinting it later on down the road. I think it's just, they want to try to get some of this product into the hands of their consumers. They know how popular it is. It's very new. So they just want people to be able to enjoy it. They want people to be able to enjoy it, which by all accounts, I think you might be seeing these Hidden Fates tins around Black Friday. I would not be surprised if you're not seeing $10, $15 Hidden Fates tins at some of your retailers out there. So I would definitely be on the lookout for that. And the value of the cards in that set are still, quite good. They're still quite good. As I said, the Charizard still, very valuable. But that's just my take on it. I don't think that it's going to be, continually reprinted. It's just probably something that we'll see maybe moving on into 2021. But then I think it should taper off after that. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. Mark says, congrats on getting to 4,000 subs. I remember when I subbed 6 months ago, you had 80 subs. Well-deserved, mate. Keep it up. Whoops. Says, keep it up with all the great content. Well, I'm doing my best, man. I've got, new things on the horizon. As you guys know, the podcast that Jules and myself, we are starting. In fact, we are probably going to be having episodes drop within the next few weeks. So I would definitely be on the lookout for that. I'm in the process right now of corresponding with other names in the Pokemon community to try to get them on the podcast. I know it's holiday season. Everybody's really busy. So we will be doing our best to try to get, some of the big name guests that we can. But it may be pushed a little later on to try to get guests. But I guarantee you we're going to have really good conversations, just like, what we have here in the live chat, good conversations. Jules and I, we talk every week. And, honestly, we could have a podcast in and of the conversations we've had thus far. Probably should have just hit record. But that's definitely something that you guys can be looking out for. And, I've been having conversations with other really great individuals that have, basically donated their time to help out the channel. And I got really good things on the horizon that I think you guys are going to enjoy. So just be on the lookout, and I will definitely give more information as those get closer. All right, let's see. Let me get to some of these other questions. How are Japanese card prices so low? Yeah, Dogamus Prime saying the same thing. How are Japanese? I've wondered the same thing, guys, and I've been touting it for a while now that I truly think a lot of Japanese cards, especially vintage cards, really slept on. And I think they are poised for a lot of growth, and that's the thing. As we start to see maybe other vintage cards become get out of people's price range, Japanese cards still sitting at really good price points. So those are areas that I would definitely be looking at. Hey, and my good friend PokeFuel just signed up for a membership. Hey, my man, I truly, truly appreciate that. Welcome to the Next Level Navigator. And again, guys, all these things go to support the channel, so I would love to have all of you in on that. But again, no obligation to do so. I just truly enjoy having you all here and for your support, all this way, all the way through 4,000 subscribers. Just awesome. Just absolutely amazing. Sammy Boy says, I'm predicting the shiny 4A box Japanese will become extremely popular during the wait between Vivid and Anniversary set. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's going to be definitely a holdover set until we get to February. I think a lot of people are really going to be digging in their heels on that. Dr. Fuzz Annapolis says, How do you feel about letting PSA hold your cards for nearly 2/3 of a year? Makes me want to go to CGC, but I know they grade harder. Yeah, it's one of the things that you have to, it's always a trade-off. It's one of the reasons why I chose to go through graded gem rather than going through PSA directly. One is that typically the prices going through graded gem are quite a bit cheaper than going directly through PSA unless you're signing up for a membership, and you don't have to do that with graded gem. I also like the fact that James is here in the local Phoenix area, so if I were able to work something out with him, perhaps I can just drop cards off with him. But the process, from what I understand, is much faster going through a graded gem. But it's something you have to take into consideration when you're having those cards graded, especially if you're wanting to turn those cards for profit, maybe reinvest into capital for other investments. You have to take into consideration that time aspect of having those cards graded. And who knows, if you are trying to build capital, perhaps it is better to go with CGC. Maybe you're going to get a lower sale price than what you would with a PSA or a Beckett graded card, but at the same time you could probably turn that card faster than you would with PSA, maybe waiting an additional 2-3 months before those cards actually get back. And who knows, market could have shifted by that point. So things that you have to take into consideration. For me, not in a hurry by any means with my submission. So if it does take a few months, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with waiting that time frame, but definitely things you have to take into consideration. Pokey Gray says, one day I'll make it onto your podcast once I get more content out. Hey man, we would love to have you. That's the thing. We don't just plan on interviewing just big name people, the people that you're all familiar with. We want to, if you've got valuable information and insight that we think our audience would enjoy and that they would that would provide them with a framework that they can utilize, then we want to have you on. It doesn't matter how big or how small you are. If you've got good information, you've got good content, we want to project that and we want to promote that to our audience. So Jules and I were both on par with that. When we started, we said it really doesn't matter how big or how small. If you're putting out good content and we notice it, then chances are we're going to ask you to come on the podcast. So you never know, my friend. You may be getting a call from me at some point. So we got a question here from Uchilandre. Says, why people care about Japanese but don't care about Portuguese, French, Spanish cards? Well, I have to actually disagree with that. I think there is actually a pretty good market out there for a lot of these cards. Portuguese, I'm not too familiar with, but definitely French, Spanish, German cards. I know there is a big market out there for those different sets. Actually, I think it was at Lootbox TV is actually doing a box break here soon of a first edition base set Spanish booster box. So those, again, different language, same card. That's it. That's really the only difference there. So that's, that actually brings me to a good point, is that, someone is asking earlier, after the base set box break with Stevie Aoki, where do people go after evolutions? Maybe you start looking at some of these foreign booster boxes. Now they're going to be more than the evolutions, but your profit margins, growth potential, probably going to be a lot better than evolutions. And maybe you can get that. Well, I know you can get that at a lower price point than you would with regular English base set. So definitely an area to look at. Let's see here. So we got a question here. Is now a good time to pick up Champions Path ETBs by the case? I know that Champions Path, the price has dipped down a little bit too. Now that we've got, Vivid Voltage, people are, have short-term memory, and Champions Path starting to dip down. You might want to hold out, honestly. If you're wanting to pick up a case of Champions Path ETBs, maybe hold out until maybe early next year. I imagine by that point, prices will probably have dropped down pretty significantly. If you're trying to get at a lower price point, or significantly lower, then early next year might be a better time. Fadewood, there's no graded gem in the US though, right? Yes, there is, my friend. So they just started this. In fact, I'm trying to think back when I made the video on this, probably about 3 months ago. So they were just in the UK at that point, I believe. And then Z from Z&G Emporium, otherwise known as James, he basically became their ambassador in the US and Canada. So now if you're in the US or Canada, you can have your cards submitted directly through James via a graded gem. So you can get your cards PSA graded. You send them into James Carson, which he's local here in the Phoenix area, and then they ship them along to PSA for you, take care of everything, absolutely everything for you guys, and then send them back to you. So yes, if you are in the US or Canada, we do have the option of graded gem. All right, let's see. Let's get to some of these other questions. Try to get to everybody as best I can. Do you think Champions Path ETBs are a good 5-year investment? Yeah, I would think they would probably fall in about that time frame. 5+ years is considered long-term in the investing world. So I think that long-term investment, I think the ETBs are probably a good option. Champions Path, realistically, outside of the Charizards, there's not a whole lot in there, but at the same time, it's a smaller set. So maybe, somewhere down the line, people that are just getting into the hobby, they like the prospect of it being a small set, prospect of getting the Charizards. 5+ years from now, I could definitely see that being a good investment. All right. Next submission deadline for graded gem is December 15th. Let's see. I was looking. So do you know if that deadline is that it has to arrive on the deadline day or get into that month's submission? Good question. As far as I know, I think it's if they basically have it in hand on the deadline. On the 15th, but that is a good question. I would try it personally. I would just try to be early on your submission, especially if you're submitting from Canada. I would make sure that you're getting in your submission early so that you make sure that you've got it there before that deadline. All right, I know I had a few questions up top here that I didn't get to. Try to find. Josh Gibbons, it looks like he's heading back to work, and sorry if I missed your question, brother. I'll see if I can get to it here. That way you can watch it in the replay. Do you think Shiny Zard VMAX will outprice the Rainbow Rare Zard VMAX? Right now it's not looking that way. I had actually predicted the exact opposite, kind of what you were thinking, but it looks like the Rainbow Rare Zard is actually outpacing the Shiny Zard. But who knows? People's tastes may change, and later on down the line, personally, I like the Shiny Zard better, in my opinion. I like the shiny cards. I like the shiny vaults. So for me, I would rather have the shiny Charizard myself. But right now, it's not looking that way. But that could very well change later on down the line. Uh, 100 likes would be a record for a live. I think we've gotten over that before. Jules, I could be mistaken, but I think we've gotten over that before. But we've got 190 people in the live chat, and we only got 69 likes. Now, 1969, that's a great year, But 69, I don't want to leave it at 69 likes. I want to get that over 100 likes if you guys can. If you guys are enjoying the content that you get from these live streams, then just take a quick second, give that like button. In fact, and this is why you guys haven't liked it yet, because I haven't asked you to double slap that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and slap that subscribe button as well. And if you guys want to be notified whenever a video drops, especially these lives, go ahead and thunder punch that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Okay, I've said it. So now, oh, look at that. See, just like that, just like magic. We're almost to 100 likes. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. It definitely helps out the video. It helps out the channel. So I really appreciate that. Adam West says, what if any WotC set do you see being undervalued or overvalued? Well, you know, here a few months ago, it was the first edition Team Rocket. It was definitely first edition Team Rocket, you know, sitting at $9,000. Now it's bumped up to, you know, the $20,000 range. I know, you know, prices are teetering now, or they're listed out there for like 15, 16. But it was definitely undervalued. But WotC era sets, you know, I honestly, even though the prices are up there, you know, the Neo sets compared to like Jungle and Fossil, I still think that those are still undervalued in my opinion. I think that Neo is just, in my opinion, that was the best series for Wizards of the Coast, was that the Neo era. All of those Neo era sets, booster boxes, cards, individual cards, the best in my opinion. But as far as, you know, the rest of them, I think, you know, let's just take a look. Let's take a look out on the open market just to kind of see what some things are going for. So we already looked at first edition Team Rocket. We looked at base set 2. Let's just look at first edition Jungle. These Jungle and Fossil have always really surprised me, honestly. At 27.5. That was best offer accepted at 31, 20, 29. Yeah, honestly, you know, I'm still thinking, you know, unlimited. Let's try unlimited. $12,000, 10.5. Yeah, I mean, they're, you know, these are sitting. Yeah, this is the ironic thing, however, is that, you know, Jungle and Fossil were sitting, unlimited Jungle and Fossil were sitting around the same price, or actually more than first edition Team Rocket for the longest time, and that was just baffling to me personally. I could not rationalize that in my head, but yeah, you know, it's really tough at this point to say that WotC, you know, any WotC set as a whole is undervalued. I would say, you know, the booster boxes themselves have just climbed so much lately that it's hard to say if any of them are necessarily undervalued. You know, I think relatively speaking, you know, from a price relativity standpoint, you know, perhaps Neo, you know, I still think Team Rocket, actually, in my opinion, Team Rocket is still a really great set. I think that, you know, even at that $20,000 price point, you know, price relativity speaking, I think it's still quite good. But for individual cards, I would say, you know, I still think base set unlimited. I still think shadowless, commons and uncommons, really good buys. I think light Pokemon, you know, you look back in like the Neo sets, you've got those light Pokemon first time that they were ever released. I think those will probably be a really good buy as well. You know, and then you start looking at the other one that comes to my mind are the reverse holofoils, especially those from Legendary Collection. I think that those reverse holo foils, especially if you can get those in a PSA 10. In fact, I've actually got one that I'm submitting in my submission to Graded Gem. That's a reverse holo foil, and I don't think that it's going to get a PSA 9 or a PSA 10, honestly. But I think those cards actually have a lot of potential moving on into the future because pops on them are pretty low, and it's hard to grade. You know, you take the holo and you spread that out over the whole card, you know, you're bound to run into more imperfections than what you would with just a regular holo card. So those, I think are probably, I would say, undervalued at this point as a card itself. All right, let's see here. All right, so for the first time ever, I am actually, somebody had asked it here in the live chat. So you guys will be the first ones to know this. So someone in the live chat asked, what is your name? My birth name is PokéNav. Yeah, I was born in the 90s, so it's only natural that my parents would name me PokéNav. No, I'm just kidding. So my real name is Shad, actually. That's S-H-A-D. So it's like Chad, but with the sh. So that is my real name. My real name is Shad. So there you guys have it. You guys can know me on a little bit more personal level now than just PokéNav. My real name is Shad. Probably not a secret for too long because I planned on going by my real name when we did the podcast anyway. So you guys would have known sooner or later. So yeah, real name is Shad, but I prefer PokéNav. Yeah, just with you guys though. No, not with anybody else. All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to get to a few more questions, guys. And then I will let you guys get on your way. Thoughts on Skyridge? I mean, what more can you really say about Skyridge? I mean, just an amazing set. Last Wizards of the Coast set. You know, that was around the time also that Pokemon and Wizards of the Coast were going through their big legal battles. There's just a lot of like things surrounded around Skyridge and Aquapolis. They're just amazing sets. Amazing sets. They worked like crap with the Game Boy Advance with the e-readers and everything, but you know, outside of that, amazing sets. Very, very hard to get. Very expensive. Individual cards though, you know, beautiful cards in there. Crystal cards, just absolutely beautiful. You know, I can't speak any higher of Skyridge, but a lot of people chiming in about the about my real name. I knew that was coming. So, but yeah. God, I lost my train of thought now. Skyridge, yes, I definitely agree with Skyridge. If you can afford it, that is. Mark says, what is your favorite WotC set? Mine has to be Gym Challenge, great arts, Rocket Zapdos, IE, and great concept in general with gym leaders. I'll tell you guys, mine has to be Neo Revelation. Love Neo Revelation. One of my favorite cards in that set is the Shining Charizard. Absolutely love that card. And then the other one, which, you know, really is my favorite card of all time, is the other set that I really enjoy is Neo Destiny, because it has that Shining Mewtwo, and that is one of my favorite cards of all time. As you guys know, Mewtwo, favorite Pokemon of all time, and I love that Shining Mewtwo card. Absolutely beautiful. And yeah, that's one that I had to include in my collection, because you got to have your favorite Pokemon. That's where it's at. So funny, somebody says Shadwick. That was actually my high school football coach. Actually, that was my nickname. That's what he always called me, was Shadwick. So that's pretty ironic. Let's see. Thoughts on Scream Pikachu promo cards in general. Yeah, those are really unique cards, guys. I love promo cards, and in fact, this upcoming week, you guys probably saw on my social medias, I asked the community. Every month I do an undervalued Pokemon card series where I give you guys some of the products that I'm looking at that I think are undervalued on the overall market. And this week I asked the community to give me their feedback on what they thought was undervalued. And I actually got a lot of responses for those type of cards as well. You know, you've got like the costume Pikachu cards, the I always botch on the name, but it's the I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically the Pikachu costume cards. And then, you know, you've got the, you know, the Mona Lisa, or not the Mona Lisa. Oh my God. The card that you were just talking about, the Screaming Pikachu. I can't remember what the painting is that is styled after. But yes, all those promo cards I think are definitely worth an investment. Respect My Gangster says, hey Nav, love the channel. Been watching since we started our own channel a few months back. We appreciate all the advice. It helps guide us. Although we've gone a little crazy, about $15,000 deep so far. Well, hey man, you know, it's, again, you know, when you're looking at the amount that you've spent, as long as you've got a good financial basis, then you guys should be fine. So, you know, if you guys have been doing it the right way, which sounds like you have, you know, it's okay. It's okay. You know, it's okay when you're spending more money, as long as you've got those reserves to fall back on. You don't feel pressured to have to sell. So yeah, it's all good, and congratulations as well. Congratulations for starting your own channel. I know it's a big venture. It's a big venture for me, big endeavor, and you know, I give a shout out to everyone who starts their own YouTube channel, because it is not easy. It's definitely not easy. Jonathan B says, no one asked this guy his name. Fake fans. Oh yeah, I guess maybe people just like to know me as PokéNav. You know, maybe just like nobody likes to call Leonhardt Lee Steinfeld. You know, they don't like to call him Leonhardt. Maybe Nav is just the, you know, when they see their image of me in their head, they're like, hey, that guy's got to be PokéNav. Nothing else. All right, couple more questions here, guys, and then I am going to sign off for tonight. All right, let's see. I'm going to find some good questions in here. Well, Jason Mann, thank you so much for joining in. It looks like you're new here. If you haven't subscribed already, my friend, please consider doing so. John says, I feel Kadabra is underrated. Very good point. You know, Kadabra, there was all that legal battle with like a magician or something like that. So we haven't seen Kadabra in a long time. And who knows, over the long term, you know, that kind of, you know, that background, you know, that kind of backstory behind Kadabra could very well put it in a position of long-term value. PokéNav says, what should you, or this is Jamie Chris VA says, what should you do with cards that don't grade that high with PSA? Well, you know, I've got a video on basically a tiered system where, you know, even if some cards do come back in like a near mint status, you know, gold star cards being one of them, man, those cards are still really, really valuable even in that near mint condition. So, you know, other cards, you just have to kind of look at it, you know, from, you know, look at the profit margin on it. Say, okay, I got these cards back. They're in a lower grade. Maybe you hold on to them for a longer period of time. You know, I've got graded cards that I've held on to that are, you know, lower grades, you know, some even below near mint that I'm just holding on to, because you never know. You know, I've talked about it before, this trickle down effect of, you know, once certain cards become out of reach for people in those higher grades, they'll naturally migrate towards other cards. And who knows, you know, along the line, you know, a period of time down the road, those cards may actually appreciate more in value, and then you can sell them later on down the road. But you know, if you're not really seeing a whole lot of profit margin on them, I would just go ahead and hold on to them and just see where the market goes. So let's see. So Mark says, do you think the 25th anniversary of Pokemon will have a big impact on the hobby in a positive way? I certainly think so. I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, we're celebrating a quarter of a century of this brand, of this hobby being around. I think that's a huge milestone. And, hopefully 2021 turns out to be a little bit better year than 2020. Hopefully we can get through some of the things that are ailing us at this time, and we can just have fun, celebrate, a quarter of a century with this hobby. But I think all in all things considered, I think it's going to be good for the hobby. If 2016 was any indication of the 20th anniversary, I can only see the 25th anniversary, being even bigger. Do you think Prime cards will be next to raise in price? That's a good point. I could definitely see that. I could definitely see Prime cards getting up there. It's all these little things, guys, all these little pockets of the hobby that, you just kind of keep an eye on. Maybe you invest a little bit here, invest a little bit there, hold on to for a period of time, and just see where things go. That's what's great about this hobby, is it's so vast and it's so wide that there's literally something for everyone. There's somebody out there that wants the product that you have. So that's definitely something you can consider. Hold on to those products for a little longer, see where it goes. And I think Prime cards probably are positioned for a pretty good increase, actually. Thoughts on cashing out my Roth IRA and putting it in Vivid Voltage booster packs? I would say a big no on that. But if you've held it for more than 5 years, you can, at the very least, you can cash it out without that early withdrawal penalty and hit you at 10%. So they do have exceptions out there. Even if you've held it for less than that, they do have exceptions. But those are things like the purchase of a new home, like a medical bill, something like that. I don't think they will agree. I don't think the SEC will make an exception for Pokemon cards, just in my opinion. Hey, we got Salman Jazim says, hi from Bahrain. Hey, man, how you doing? I have very less money. Which Pokemon card should I invest in as a beginner? Well, I've talked about before, man. One of the best ways to start, in my opinion, is to look for binders of cards, whether that's out on the open market, whether that's swap meets, whether that's garage sales, looking for binders of cards, because typically you can pick these up for, pennies on the dollar of what you would get elsewhere. And a lot of the time people don't know what they have. They just don't know what they have. Facebook, I know you're coming from Bahrain, so I'm not sure of this, the different resources that you have over there. But, here in the States, Facebook Marketplace, I've been able to get some great deals on places like Facebook Marketplace. People just don't know what they have and are just trying to get rid of it. Or even garage sales, swap meets, things like that. So just, try to start where you can. I think that binders of cards are a great place to do that. Also, you can look at bulk sales as well. People that are just trying to get rid of cards. A lot of the time they're going to sell them at a discount just to try to get rid of them. So, you can look into that as well. Maybe look into some bulk sales, and you can perhaps find some gems in there, and then get those graded, start putting some of that capital away, saving it up, and then start, once you've got enough, then you reinvest that into, more top tier types of products, sealed products, things like that. Frank Rodriguez says, I think band cards could be a good investment still. Yeah, that's possible. The problem is, I don't know if, and I could be wrong on this, I'm really not sure on this topic, but I don't know if the grading companies will grade band cards. I've never seen one, so that may be a hindrance behind it, in that you may only have a raw band card, which obviously is not going to get the same kind of premium that a graded card would. All right, so let's get to this last question here. So would you get any first edition cards graded and hold on to them, as they should increase in value due to people wanting to complete base set collection? Yeah, I mean, if you've got any first edition cards. If you see some, I mean, there's still first edition cards out on the open market. I'll be honest with you guys. I picked up a first edition non-holo Moltres from, I think that's Fossil. Pretty sure it's Fossil. But anyways, card's in pretty decent condition. In my opinion, I think it's going to probably come back about a PSA 8. But even after grading costs and things like that, still a decent profit margin on those type of cards. And that's a PSA 8, and that's a non-holo. So first edition cards, they hold that premium. No matter what set they're from, they're always going to hold that premium of being the first edition, the limited print run. So yeah, if you can get your hands on first edition, whether it's holos or even non-holos or even commons and uncommons. I've got some shadowless base set starters that I'm going to be getting graded as well. I don't know if you guys have looked at those, but those are going for quite a bit of money as well, even in a near mint status. So opportunities abound, guys. Opportunities abound out there. You just have to look. Do your research. Put forth the time and the effort to educate yourself, and there will always be opportunities out there no matter where you're starting from. That is the thing that I want to leave you guys here with tonight, and I pretty much leave you with every week. Start where you can. Opportunities abound. Just increase your ability to garner knowledge. That's really, knowledge is power, guys, and knowledge is even more powerful when you put it into action. So I think that is going to do it for tonight, guys. Again, if I didn't get to everybody's questions, I do apologize. One of the things that I'm going to be doing here in the future that I think will help with this, you guys might be familiar with it if you watch PokéRev, but when he does his live Q&As, he actually has his own website. People can go in, they can ask their questions there, and then we can perhaps get an orderly fashion of questions. But I also really like this, just kind of going off of the cuff with questions as they roll in. But guys, again, if I didn't get to your question tonight, hit me up on Instagram, Pokemon_Navigator. Send me a DM over there. I will try to get back to you. Send me an email, pokenav27@gmail.com. Again, I'll do my best to get to you there as well. And in the future, guys, just a little sneak peek, I am going to try to put things in the works. So if you guys do have more complex questions, you want a more one-on-one approach, I am going to put something together in the future to where you guys can have access to that. But that is to be seen for now. We will get to that at some point, but I can tell you guys, I am doing my best to bring you guys the best content that I can, and to really have this PokéNav brand be the best that it can be, and really help you guys in this hobby, because like I said, we are all at the forefront. We are all laying the foundation for this hobby to be fruitful and enjoyable as we move on into the future. And I'm just doing my part as best as I can. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for tonight. Other than that, I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for your support. I will see you in this upcoming week. I've got some great videos planned for this week, so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, guys, I will see you all next time. My name is PokéNav. I'm here to help you navigate the world of Pokemon, one video at a time, and I will see you all in the next video.